Hey everybody, this is Tommy, and I'm Kimberly, and we're from Ravens Creek, and today we're going to bring you a little bit of Ravens food.
We wanted to do a quick review because in the end of December we gave a challenge, a New Year's resolution of sorts. We wanted you to follow us for 3 months, and in those 3 months we just simply said, see if you're changed. Now, there were a lot of subjects that we covered, and some of the subjects that we covered seem a bit odd, such as why would we go through the meaning of words or names, and does that actually have anything to do with life? But what Kimberly and I have found is that oftentimes what we go through is the very things that we're learning or thinking about and discussing here, and so we just kind of share it with you guys. And oftentimes it's not really a directed, premeditated, let's do these series of videos. It's just kind of what we've been learning. And oftentimes God uses that to show the weak things are really the things that overcome the strong, and the foolish things are really the things that confound the wise.
When we get into spirituality or into religion, so often it's about doing more, becoming greater, getting to the point where you can be part of the leadership. And yet here we are encouraging you to become part of the servants. Again, you have the weak overcoming the strong. You have the foolishness, or things that are considered foolish to this world. It is actually something that God uses in His wisdom to overcome the foolishness of the world and of the principalities. And there's always this more. But that's not really the wisdom of God. That's not really exactly what Jesus taught us to do. And here's Tommy and I, and we're talking to you and encouraging you to become servants, to give up the right of being a son and inheriting so that you can have the privilege of being a eunuch who's entrusted with the household of his master and bringing up the sons and taking care of the wife or wives and taking care of the household and being entrusted with that in a way that your master or your father, or in this case God, knows he has nothing to fear, because you're not trying to do for yourself. You're not trying to get ahead in leadership. You're not trying to become more and get a name for yourself in Christianity. If you're like Tommy and I, you probably don't have a name in Christianity, and you won't, because you're getting closer and closer to the heretic list than you are getting to the holy doctrines, as some people really hold on to. But the thing is, what we're really looking for is just to express God's heart. We're just trying to remember the simple foundational things. And that's what we hope we're bringing to you. We believe those things are actually life-changing.
We also went through Elijah at the creek, and this is something that's kind of dear to our hearts. It's where we get our name from, Ravens Creek. Now, with the Elijah people, this is something that we wanted to convey, again, the heart issues, that not everybody goes to the creek because this is a lonely place. This is where you're getting fed by an unclean bird. This is where you're kind of on that list outside of the camp, so to speak. And while everybody else is rejoicing and having a great time, Elijah's spending time right there in the very counsel of God, right there next to the very heart of God, hearing the words from God, getting fed by the unclean bird, and yet God's the one feeding him. And so we wanted to express this again to you, that this is something that God is really calling forth for an Elijah people. He's really calling forth for a people who will stand up in this day even and come outside to become united with God in a way that others are afraid to. And we want to, again, really hit that heart thing that expresses deeper than just theology or even deep understanding of the Bible, but where you really get the most deep and profound understanding of the Bible is from in the most simplest ways of expressing God's heart and learning God's heart and being in His counsel and with Him at all times.
We know that when you have the basics, then you can move forward. You learn your alphabet as a very young child, and you can start to put words together, and you can begin to read. You learn your numbers in simple mathematics first before you go into things like algorithms. You get the basics down, and those basics never become invalid. They never become so simple it's not worth considering. but sometimes they become so simple that we just have it automatically, and we can only hope to continue to bring that forth, that they will always have a value for you, but that you will consider it so that the simple thing can bring up the complexity and the beautifulness when it all comes together.
In the simple thing, in the foundational thing, we want to be able to teach you in a way that's going to really register deep down into the very foundations and core of you, so that you won't be building on the sand, but will be that wise builder who builds upon the rock. And in that, we hope that there will come a time where you're not just going to be dealing with these foundational things, you'll go on past us. And maybe we can raise you up in a way that you will even go beyond us. And we're completely okay with that. We know our purpose in the Lord, and we're okay with our purpose in the Lord. But we want you to be able to, at this time, see if we can't again just examine the foundations and again come back to that root that God has established for the whole of the faith, not just for us in our day, but all saints of all generations. And in this review, I want to remind you that when that prodigal son was in the pigsty, he was remembering the servants of his father's household, and these are the ones who provoked him to jealousy because they had bread and bread to spare, and here he's about to eat the food of the pigs. Now, we hope that this brings a jealousy in you and reminds you from whence you've come, so that you might again have that jealousy to go back to your father's household and say, yeah, let's visit again the foundational things. Let's build this up again. Let's restore again the things that might have been passed over too quickly. And we hope that in that we're also going to encourage you to then go out and to provoke that jealousy in others. Because after all of us are on this messy and unclean journey.